Welcome to a special Wake Up Global Network's audio visual podcast. Whatever you want to call it, I want to say thank you for joining. I hope you're having a great Sunday with your family. Some of you are at church, whatever you're doing, but I especially appreciate you tuning in to this very special program, this very special recording, this very special time and space. I'm D. Foster III, CEO and President of Wake Up Global Networks International. And of course, we want you to like this, subscribe to this, put a copy of this link into your into your contacts rather, so that you can send it to your friends. It's going to be tremendous. It's going to be great. It's going to be eye-opening. It's not for shock therapy. It's not to persuade you. It's just to, as I always do, bring you information so that you can determine for yourself. To find out more about us, you can go to our website, www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com, www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com, and follow us on all of our social media. Follow me on my personal social media, X and Instagram, DJ Change 111. DJ Change 111. You'll see everything we do. Our podcast on Friday, which not intentionally led us into what we're going to talk about, or some of what we're going to talk about today. And then every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. is the Voice of Hope Connection. And it is all taking place right here on WPBMediaNetworks.com. Shout out to owner and operator April J. for giving us a platform for a voice. And of course, we have at Wake Up Global Media on our YouTube channel and all of our social media. And like I said, go to our website to get more information on that. Now, I know I'm going to be in a different tone, a different flavor today. If you know my presentation, I'm usually quick. I hit it and I quit it. But today I'm going to try to slow it down because I believe this is so important for you to understand and to share it with other people. Like I said, the whole objective is not some animosity. It's not, I don't have an axe to grind. I'm not trying to be shock therapy for numbers. I'm not trying to be salacious, but I am trying to bring clarity to some of the fallacies that we have been taught, we have grown up in, especially around this season where a lot of people are celebrating Easter, resurrection, whichever one you want to call it. And I want to bring some clarity to that. So like this, subscribe, share, get your favorite drink, relax if you can. If you're home, watch it with your family, have a watch party. If you are part of the replay crew, we want to say thank you. Subscribe to this, share, and absolutely follow. We appreciate it. Again, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to slow walk it so that it makes sense. I want it to make sense. So I've titled this on this day, what many people call resurrection. Some call it Easter, whichever persuasion. Resurrection realities and resurrection fallacies, which means within the scope of celebrating the resurrection, there are some realities that we hold true to, but then there are fallacies that we embrace. And I want to make the distinction. So let me start off by saying resurrection, the time when the world celebrates Jesus raising from the dead after being crucified. You know, there's a whole ceremonial weekend that just took place beginning with Holy Week, Palm Sunday, last Sunday. Some celebrated Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem. And then all week, Holy Week, where he's crucified, where he's led, you know, the stations of the cross, right? The stations of the cross, where he's led into Pilate's chamber, where he's got a kangaroo trial, where he's led up Golgotha's hill, where he's crucified, where he's buried. I mean, all of that, that's Holy Week. And then the culmination of it is what many are celebrating today is Resurrection Sunday or Easter, whichever one you choose. So that's the background, because I have a mixed audience. So all of my audience is not church eyes. I have people from every persuasion, every denomination, every spiritual belief. So sometimes I have to go into explaining things that people think people should understand. But again, we here at Wake Up have a plethora of people from different backgrounds that join us. So if I sound trivial, give me a break. I'll be back at you, but spare me, because I want to make sure I bring everybody along. So here it is. So resurrection, yes. When we talk about Jesus raising from the dead, Jesus triumphant entry to Jerusalem, that whole Easter week from Palm Sunday to Resurrection Sunday. So it's resurrection, yes. Easter, no. That's a fallacy, because I know people use those interchangeably. They said it's Easter Sunday, and I'm talking about good Christians using Easter. But what I think when I finish and we discover, if you don't already know, and I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence here, that we will never use the word Easter again when it refers to the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Resurrection is a spiritual event. Easter is a pagan celebration. Let me say that again. Resurrection is a spiritual event, whereas Easter is a pagan celebration. Now, you may ask me, D. Foster 3, how did they become synonymous? How did we exchange and mix up Easter and resurrection? As a matter of fact, growing up as a church baby, I just started hearing resurrection about 15 or 20 years ago, because growing up, it was always Easter Sunday, Easter Sunday. So thank God we are being enlightened. The church is changing, but there's still a lot of fallacy in this celebration or in this time of year. So resurrection, yes, it is a spiritual event, and we'll talk about the when later. But Easter is very much paganism. And you say, well, how did they, which is a good question, how did they become synonymous? One meaning the same thing, Easter meaning resurrection, and resurrection meaning Easter, which is the same thing. One is spiritual, and the other one is a reality of the worship of the God of fertility, right? So Easter is when Easter, and when it is celebrated, has to do with the spring equinox. You'll find out that a lot of the holidays that we celebrate, and you need to go back and look at my podcast from Friday called A Christian Nation, or Christians in a Nation, where I talk about how we have more paganism in this country than we do spiritual practices on a collective scale. But anyway, so when we talk about Easter and when it is celebrated has to do with the spring equinox, and the bunny has to do with fertility. Exactly. So when we were growing up, you had an Easter bunny, you have Easter egg hunts. Churches have Easter egg hunts. Somebody dressed up as an Easter bunny, which is fine. I'm not knocking that. I'm just giving the reality of it, that it has nothing absolutely to do with the ascension and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Easter is synonymous of fertility, birth, coming out of winter season, the spring equinox, when the flowers begin to blossom, when the grass begins to grow, when the pollen begins to fill the air. And because it symbolizes that we're coming out of a time of winter barrenness. Now, can you make the connection? A time when nature seemed to be pretty much dead, a time when nothing was happening. Does that make sense? Now, how they kind of connected it, because they used the correlation of when Jesus was dead, Jesus was buried. People call it Silent Saturday, in between Friday and Sunday. But resurrection, Easter, the spring equinox equals when things come alive, the resurrection, and the grass begins to grow and the flowers begin to bloom. But in short, why I think it happened is called bait and switch. It's to pull them closer together, so that eventually what happened will happen. We exchange one for another and begin to slowly, justifiably lead us into embracing a degree of paganism. Now, I must travel back. Like this, subscribe, share. If you're just joining us, I want to see your comments. I want you to also share this with somebody. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, to bring a little clarity, I've got to travel back in time, right? Into paganism and dive a little bit into Catholicism. See, here's what I said even on my Friday podcast, that most of the holidays that we celebrate in this country and the characters that represent the holidays, like Santa Claus to many represents Christmas, the bunny represents Easter, most of the holidays and the characters that represent those holidays, unknowingly to most, but knowingly to many, knowingly or unknowingly, mythical gods or goddesses, or celebrated around pagan god worship. Most of the holidays in this country are celebrated around gods or mythical gods or goddesses, or around pagan holidays and pagan worship. Example, St. Patrick's Day. And I'm not going to go into depth. You can study this for yourself. I'm leading up to a bigger point. St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day. We done made that a day of love. Saint Valentine, who was the god of relationships. Even Christmas, Saint Nicholas. See, all of these, if you notice, all of these holidays have some kind of mystical gods or goddesses involved in them because they are celebrated around paganism. And I mean, I'm not saying don't celebrate your holidays. I'm saying know what you're doing. See, that's always been my thing. It's not don't do it. At least if you're going to do it or do a thing, don't do a thing ignorantly. Do a thing with knowledge and with understanding. So as not to go deep, because I want to keep this plain, simple, and not too long. I believe this strategically has been done for two reasons. One, especially with what we call resurrection, is to turn the attention away from the power that resides in the real Christ. See, if I'm into clothes, if I'm into bunnies, if I'm into eggs, if I'm into all of these high hymns and all of that, which is fine, then I'm less attuned to the power of the resurrection. And so I believe that's one of the reasons this was done, to bring us out of the power of the resurrection. And then number two, I believe this was strategically done to cause us to settlely embrace, as I said, paganism. Because when we put the bunny, and hey, listen, I know on tomorrow there will be a Easter egg hunt at the White House. I'm not saying if you got tickets, people go. I mean, it's fine. All I'm saying is know what you're doing. My job is to put the info out there to make you aware so that you can make the best decision possible. Not to tell you what to do or what not to do. That's not my job. I don't lead like that, right? So all I'm saying is, so when we're looking at the eggs, fertility, the bunny, fertility, worshiping the god of Istos, which I'll get to in a minute, it takes us away. People come into church once a year. I mean, it used to amaze me that, people that you never see before, and I pastored, so I was a part of it. You blow it up and people come, you spend money for people, you buy auditoriums, rent equipment, all the special events for people you're going to see one time a year, right? To celebrate how we dress. Now we're dressing down. All the theatrics, right? But it takes away from the real power that resides in the resurrection. And it causes us, especially Easter bunnies and Easter plays to embrace a level of paganism. And I believe personally that's a part of what it was designed to do. Now, this is what has happened to the day we call resurrection. There was a mass Easter takeover attempt. Yeah, I'm going to say it like that. Because come on, our grandparents and our parents, for the most part, never called it. We started calling it resurrection in our generation, right? In my generation and above and younger. But before, there was no resurrection. It was Easter Sunday, going to church Easter. Now, what was the paradigm of that? You dress up. I mean, we didn't dress down coming up. You got a new suit. I never forget. Easter, every Easter, I got a new suit. There were Easter lilies. There were flowers. The altar looked so beautiful, so beautiful. I mean, the choirs, all the combined choirs sang that Sunday. I mean, it was Gothic, right? Then the Saturday before, like yesterday, we would be at church with Easter egg hunts and Easter plays and Easter luncheons. Everything was Easter, this Easter, that Easter, not focusing on the power of the resurrection. That's all I'm saying. And those things were fun. We participated. We encourage people to participate. But when you know better, you do better. So there was a Easter, I believe it was by design, takeover. Because one, I want you to get this, has absolutely nothing, NOTHING, to do with the other, OTHER. Nothing. One is spiritual, the other one is pagan. The West and the East never meet again. That's how different they are, right? Okay, you follow me so far? Pagan is Easter, also known as Ostara, OSTARA, and it is celebrated on the spring equinox, which we know begins March 21st. And what it does is it marks the beginning of spring, and it is associated, you ready, with the god Istra, which is Easter, EOSTRE, the goddess Estra, which represented fertility, which represented new life. So when we say it's Easter, we're talking about a goddess. I told you, like, share, subscribe. Resurrection realities and resurrection fallacies. Now, who is this goddess? Let's go deep. Don't go nowhere now. Brunch. You got a few minutes before brunch, or you just coming home for brunch, or before dinner, Easter dinner, or you going back to Easter service. You got a few minutes. I just want to share this with you. Who is this goddess? Easter, and I'm gonna spell it for you. You do your homework. You be like the Bereans. Check me out. Well, you could check me out. Check me out. Though we don't check out stuff much, but I notice if we like what we hear, we don't check it out. If we disagree with what we hear, we go check it out. Interesting. Now, Istros was also known as OSTARA or Estra, EASTR, a lot of names for one goddess, is the goddess associated with spring and the dawn. That's why her name is etymologically linked to the word for east. Now, come on, I'm putting it together, symbolizing the direction from which the sun, and I talked about that on Friday. We go to church, most people go to church on Sunday, but her name etymologically is linked to the word for east. Notice the word Easter, EAST, symbolizing the direction from which the sun rises, heralding the arrival of light. Sound like the resurrection? See how they made the correlation? The arising of light and the end of dark, or the end of death, or the end of the cold winter, silent Saturday. She is believed to be the namesake of the Christian holiday for Easter. That's why I told you, when you say Easter, what you're saying is it's a day to worship a pagan goddess or the pagan goddess of light, the pagan goddess of who worships the sun rising in the east, coming out of the cold, the grave, the dark, the grave, into the light, the resurrection. See how they made it? See how they crossed it? See how they connected it? But see how we fell for it? We ain't falling no more. Like, subscribe, share, follow. Now, for this reason is one of the reasons that the timing of Jesus' resurrection or Easter, and I don't know if you ever wondered this, is always celebrated a different time. This year's late. Sometime it can be early as the first week or the second week in March. It can be as late as it is now, the third week in April. It can have a 6-week, now come on, most of the time on Christmas, we know the last week of Christmas, the last week of December, or depending on the third week, late in the third week or the fourth week, it's going to be Christmas. So you got, a 10-day span. We know Thanksgiving every year is going to be the third, usually the third or the fourth, but a week span difference. But with Easter, it can be 6 weeks difference because Easter or the resurrection is celebrated at different times because it's based around the cycle of the sun. It's not based on history. It's not based on when Jesus really rose. It's based on, today is based on the sun. I know, like this, share this. It's based on the sun. The equinox, when there is an equal balance between darkness and daylight. And so that's when we celebrate. So next year, I don't know when it is, it may be mid-March. Here it is, almost May. It's the 20th. So we have another 10 days of this month? Some years is second week of around my birthday. It depends because it's based around the sun, because Easter is the goddess of fertility who worshiped the sun because it rises in the east, and she celebrated the light that the sun brought. Now, to further, can you handle some more? Can you like this, share this? Can you really handle some more? Okay. And this is the way that I make my podcast. This is the way, if you've not checked out the Voiceover Now podcast every Friday at 6 p.m., you need to do so because I keep it real. Straight, no chaser, even on a Resurrection Sunday. Straight, no chaser. Now, to further push the resurrection fallacies, okay? There's some realities, but the fallacies, the church has created false ceremonial narratives that take away from the reality of the resurrection. See, the resurrection of Jesus, the revelation of it is so powerful that Paul said that I may know him in the power of his resurrection. The power of his resurrection is where the power lies. The power of the resurrection is not going to church celebrating Easter. The power of the resurrection is a revelation that I may know, gnoskos, be intimately acquainted with. That has nothing to do with eggs, dress, lilies. I mean, all those things can be nice. But I'm just saying how the attempt has been to take away our emphasis and make it a grand event. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. A grand event. When Paul says the whole power is having a revelation of his resurrection. So we've created a lot of ceremonies. We've created a lot of events. We've created a lot of, I won't say that word, but we've created a lot of ceremonies that take away from the reality of the resurrection for thinking people. The reality is Jesus Christ Now, let me give you reality that we've created a fallacy around. Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross, right? Yes. But I submit to you, he didn't die on the cross. Don't go nowhere. Stay. Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross, but he did not die on the cross. I know that goes against every song, that goes against every belief, but as long as it doesn't go against Scripture. Jesus Christ was crucified. Yes, he was on the cross, but he did not die on the cross, which is not holy in itself, but it is a Roman instrument of crucifixion. Now, the reason I say this, because I've been places where when it comes to, after Lent, I think, they put maroon or something, their church has a cross. And we deify the cross, you know. Now, I'm not undeifying it. Just hold up. Let me get to it. I know I hit your religious cow, but let me get to it. So, we love symbols. We love sigils. I'm going to take you somewhere. And the cross is one of the sigils that we wear, right? It means holy. It means deity. It means, Mashata, the cross. But I want to submit to you, in the natural essence of the piece of wood that Jesus was crucified on, there is nothing holy about that wood that he was crucified on, no more than a death chamber is holy, or no more than an electric chair is holy. Now you say, come here, don't go nowhere. See, the cross was the Roman method of crucifixion. I could see if Jesus were the only one who was crucified on the cross. But everyone who was considered a criminal in Roman history were crucified on a cross. The cross was a Roman instrument of crucifixion. And the natural cross